Every single day, your brain is lying to you. And the terrifying part is, you have absolutely no idea it's happening. Welcome to a summary of Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize-winning psychologist who spent decades pulling back the curtain on the hidden machinery of the human mind. What he discovered will permanently change the way you see every decision you have ever made. At the heart of Kahneman's work is one groundbreaking idea. You do not have one mind, you have two. He calls them System 1 and System 2, and understanding how they work and how they clash is the key to understanding almost everything about human behavior. System 1 is fast. It is automatic, intuitive, emotional, and largely unconscious. It is the part of your brain that instantly recognizes a face, feels disgust when you smell something rotten, or swerves the car before you even consciously register the danger ahead. System 1 never sleeps. It is always running in the background, making snap judgments and filling in gaps with whatever feels right. System 2 is slow. It is deliberate, logical, effortful, and conscious. It kicks in when you calculate a complex math problem, fill out a tax form, or carefully compare two job offers. System 2 requires concentration. It drains energy. And because of that, your brain uses it as sparingly as possible. Here is the problem. We believe we are System 2 creatures, rational, thoughtful, in control. But in reality, System 1 runs the show. System 2 is mostly just System 1's press secretary, rationalizing decisions that were already made before you were even consciously aware of them. This is not a flaw, it is by design. Evolution built System 1 for survival speed. When a predator lunges, you cannot afford to deliberate. But in the modern world, where our biggest decisions involve money, careers, relationships, and health, speed without accuracy is dangerous. So what exactly goes wrong? Kahneman identifies a collection of systematic errors called cognitive biases. These are not random mistakes. They are predictable, repeatable patterns in how we think. And once you learn to see them, you will spot them everywhere. The first and most powerful is the halo effect. When we like one thing about a person, we unconsciously assume everything else about them is also good. If someone is physically attractive, we instinctively assume they are also intelligent, kind, and trustworthy, with zero evidence. System 1 sees one positive signal and paints the entire picture in warm colors. Closely linked to this is anchoring. When you are exposed to a number, any number, even a completely random one, it pulls your subsequent judgments toward it like a gravitational field. In a famous experiment, participants spun a wheel rigged to land on 10 or 65, then estimated the percentage of African countries in the United Nations. Those who spun 65 guessed dramatically higher than those who spun 10. The number was random. It had nothing to do with the question. This is why salespeople always show you the most expensive item first, and why a product marked down from 500 to 300 feels like a steal, even if 300 was always the intended price. Then there is availability bias. We judge the likelihood of events based on how easily examples come to mind. If you have just read a news story about a plane crash, you will dramatically overestimate the danger of flying, even though statistically, the drive to the airport is far more likely to kill you. System 1 responds to stories, not statistics. This is why we fear terrorism more than heart disease, even though heart disease kills exponentially more people. One of the most counterintuitive insights in the book is loss aversion. Humans do not evaluate gains and losses symmetrically. Losing $100 feels roughly twice as painful as gaining $100 feels pleasurable. This asymmetry explains an enormous amount of irrational behavior. Investors hold losing stocks far too long because selling locks in a loss, and that pain is unbearable. People stay in bad relationships and bad jobs because the imagined pain of leaving outweighs the imagined pleasure of something better. The pain of loss speaks louder than the promise of gain. Kahneman builds on this with prospect theory, a revolutionary framework that replaced the assumption that humans are rational maximizers. We do not make decisions based on absolute outcomes. We make them based on changes from a reference point. A $50,000 salary feels like like success if you expected 40,000, and like disappointment if you expected 60,000. The number is the same. The feeling is entirely different. Perhaps the most practically useful concept in the book is the distinction between the experiencing self and the remembering self. The experiencing self is you living through each moment. The remembering self is the storyteller, the version of you that constructs memories and decides whether something was good or bad. Here is what makes this so strange. The remembering self does not average your experiences. It judges them by two moments, the peak and the end. Kahneman calls this the peak-end rule. In a remarkable study, patients undergoing colonoscopies without sedation were split into two groups. One group had the procedure end at its most painful point. The other had it extended by a few minutes of mild, fading discomfort. The second group experienced more total pain, but they remembered it as significantly less unpleasant because it ended on a lower note. A vacation that ends badly is remembered as a bad vacation, even if 9 out of 10 days were wonderful. The end writes the story. Now, why does all of this happen? The answer is cognitive ease. System 1 operates on shortcuts called heuristics, mental rules of thumb that get you to a good enough answer fast. Most of the time, they work. When they fail is when the situation is complex, unfamiliar, or statistically subtle. Exactly the kinds of situations modern life throws at us constantly. Kahneman introduces the concept he calls WYSIATI, what you see is all there is. System 1 builds its story using only the information immediately available, with no awareness of what it does not know. It never pauses to ask, am I missing something important? It builds the most coherent story it can and presents it to you as truth. The less information you have, paradoxically, the more confident System 1 can be, because there is nothing to complicate the narrative. This is why confident people are so persuasive. Confidence signals coherence, and coherence to System 1 signals truth. An expert who says, I am not sure, sounds less credible than a fool who speaks with absolute certainty. This is unsettling when you consider how many decisions, medical, financial, political, are driven by the confidence of whoever is speaking, rather than the quality of their actual reasoning. One of Kahneman's most important prescriptions is the pre-mortem. Before committing to a major decision, imagine that you have already made it, a year has passed, and it was a complete disaster. Now ask, what went wrong? This exercise forces System 2 to engage, breaks through the optimism bias that makes us overestimate our chances of success and surfaces risks that enthusiasm had quietly buried. He also champions what he calls the outside view, looking at base rates and statistics before trusting your gut. When planning a project, your inside view says this one is different. We have a great team, we will beat the odds. The outside view asks, what percentage of similar projects came in on time and on budget? The answer is almost always humbling and almost always more accurate. Kahneman is careful not to ask you to abandon intuition entirely. Genuine expertise, built over thousands of hours in a predictable environment with fast, clear feedback, produces real intuitive skill. A chess grandmaster's gut feeling about a board position is trustworthy, but an investor who has been in the market for 20 years or a manager who has been hiring for decades may not have learned much at all, because the feedback from their decisions is slow, incomplete, and contaminated by luck. He draws a sharp line between true expertise and the illusion of expertise. This connects to one of the book's most sobering themes, the illusion of understanding. We all live inside explanations for the world that feel solid and complete, but are largely constructed by System 1 to impose order on a world far more random than our minds can comfortably accept. We see patterns in noise. We find causes in coincidence. The financial crisis of 2008 had, in hindsight, 1,000 obvious causes that every analyst could explain. The same analysts had not seen it coming. Hindsight bias, the feeling that you knew it all along, is one of System 1's most seductive and damaging tricks. So what do you do with all of this? Kahneman does not promise a cure. The biases are baked in. Even he, after a lifetime studying them, still falls for them. But awareness is a beginning. You can build checklists and deliberate processes that force System 2 to engage before you act. You can slow down on decisions that matter. You can seek disconfirming evidence and invite others to challenge your assumptions. You can ask, what would I say if someone else made this exact decision? Thinking Fast and Slow is ultimately a book about humility, about recognizing that the instrument you use to understand reality is deeply imperfect, systematically biased, and stubbornly overconfident in its own accuracy. That recognition, Kahneman believes, is the beginning of thinking better. Your brain is extraordinary. It is also in very specific and predictable ways wrong. Knowing which is which, that is the work of a lifetime, and it starts right now.